In the Gulf, amidst all those gleaming skylines and booming economies, there's a really profound question taking shape. What is the future of the Arabic language? Today, we're going to dive into that tension, the push and pull between protecting a rich linguistic heritage and diving headfirst into a globalized world.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll unpack a key idea, linguistic security. Then we'll see how that plays out in the real world of law and media. After that, we'll look at the tough spots in education and the digital world, check out some amazing tech and cultural projects fighting back, and finally, we'll wrap up by looking at what's next.
All right, first things first, let's get to the heart of this whole conversation. What in the world is linguistic security? Yeah, this is about way more than just grammar or vocabulary. Linguistic security completely changes the game. It says a nation's language is a core strategic asset, and that it's just as vital to a country's identity as its political stability or its economy. It's a really big deal.
And this quote right here, it just nails the feeling behind this. It frames the language not just as a way to talk, but as the actual source of national pride. So from this point of view, using Arabic everywhere isn't just a nice idea, it's absolutely essential for unity and strength. Okay, so now that we have that idea in our heads, let's see how it's actually being put into practice. We'll start with law and media.
So what we're seeing here are two really different ways to tackle the same problem. On one hand, you've got Qatar, which went big with a sweeping law in 2019 making Arabic mandatory pretty much everywhere that's official. Then you have Bahrain, which is more targeted, focusing on specific, high-impact areas like insurance contracts and financial reporting. But both show that governments are actively using the law to protect the language.
But here's where it gets interesting. The minute you switch from law to media, the picture totally changes. A study of TV ads in Saudi Arabia found that only about a quarter of them use classical Arabic. The vast majority, they use colloquial, everyday dialects because, that's the language that actually connects with people and sells products. It shows this huge gap between the official language and the language people actually use.
And then you jump into the digital world, and things get even wilder with the rise of Arabization. That's writing Arabic sounds using Latin letters. This isn't something handed down from the top. It's a completely grassroots thing, especially with young people on social media. It's fast, it's cool, and it's a totally different kind of challenge for the formal language.
And all of this leads us right to the two most critical battlegrounds where the future of Arabic is really being fought, in the classroom and on the internet. Just look at the numbers in Qatar. They're pretty eye-opening. You have a huge number of private and international schools where English is usually the main language, and they far outnumber the public schools. So you get this fundamental problem. How do you give kids a top-tier global education while still making sure they have a real, deep connection to their own language and culture? And the ripple effects of this kind of education system are huge. A study in Bahrain on international school students found something fascinating. It's not just that they use English more, they actually prefer it for speaking, reading, and writing. They even start to see their own native language, Arabic, as complex. That's a huge shift, not just in skill, but in attitude.
So why is the digital space such a massive deal? Well, check out this number, 99%. That's the internet penetration rate in Bahrain. When basically everyone is online, the language of the internet becomes the language of everyday life. So if Arabic content and digital tools aren't amazing and easy to use, the language could get pushed to the sidelines in the biggest public space we have. But it's not all doom and gloom, not at all. The response to these challenges has been this incredible wave of innovation all across the Gulf. And honestly, this is where the story gets really exciting. And believe me, this isn't just talk. We're talking about some serious investment here. The UAE is digitizing centuries of heritage. Saudi Arabia is building these massive language databases to power new AI. Qatar is on the cutting edge of machine translation. These are big, coordinated, high-tech projects, and they're all designed to make sure Arabic is ready for the 21st century and beyond. And who's behind all this? Well, you've got these major powerhouses like the King Salman Global Academy and the GCC Center for Translation. These aren't small-time operations, they're strategic national projects with huge backing, and they're pulling all the strings across tech, research, and policy. Let's just zoom in for a second on Qatar's Computing Research Institute, QCRI, to see how it works. They have this amazing multi-layered strategy. They don't just do one thing.
They analyze the very structure of the language, they build better translation tools, they team up with giants like Google, and they create new e-learning platforms. It's a complete 360-degree approach.
Now, what's the fuel for all this incredible new tech? It's data, and I mean a ton of data. Saudi Arabia's contemporary Arabic corpus is the perfect example. It's a database with over 300 million words. That's the essential raw material that lets researchers teach computers all the subtleties of modern Arabic. It powers everything from chatbots to search engines. So at the end of the day, you see how crucial it is to have these big strategic institutions. The King Salman Global Academy is a great example of that long-term, powerful commitment you need to actually pull off these massive technological and cultural shifts. All right, so we've covered the big idea, the hurdles, and some pretty amazing solutions. Let's pull it all together now and take a look at what the future might hold. This table really does a great job of laying out the tug-of-war we've been talking about. In every single area, education, media, tech, even just signs on the street, you see this constant push and pull. On one side, you have the official efforts to preserve the language. And on the other, you have the powerful, unstoppable forces of globalization. And the future? It's going to be found right there, in the middle of that tension.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question. In this new age of AI and instant global communication, the challenge is different than it's ever been. So I'll leave you with this to think about. How can we use all these powerful new tools to make sure language is a bridge, one that connects a rich heritage to a global future, instead of becoming a wall between them?